What does it say? I don't remember.
She is the slayer.
Yeah, it's like once every...
Hey everyone, welcome to the very first episode of our show. My name's Natasha.
I'm Addison.
And we're both big nerds.
Like, really big nerds.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer is my all-time favorite show.
And I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's seen it a bunch, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot. So...
How many times is a lot?
I don't know.
Okay.
I've watched it a lot. And I start from the beginning every time I watch it. So...
I'm starting from the beginning, too.
Yeah. So anyway, I've been wanting to do a rewatch for a while. And since he's never seen it, I really wanted him to experience the rewatch with me and watch it for the first time, too.
And she gets to laugh at all of my dumb theories and ideas as to what I think is going to happen.
I mean, he might be right about a lot of stuff. He's pretty sharp.
I'll probably be right. Because I'm smart like that.
Anyway, we watch a lot of, like, nerdy shows together, and we tend to have a lot of conversations that kind of revolve around the shows, and they can get pretty intense.
That's a good word for it, yeah.
So I thought it would be fun to film our conversations that we have after watching every episode of Buffy. Since this is his first time and I'm rewatching, so it'd be cool to get my perspective and his perspective, and then also to see how the show's changed for me too, because every time I rewatch it, I notice something new or think of something in a different way, so it's pretty cool. The show grows with you.
It's also kind of interesting looking at it from the perspective of, I think the first season came out in 1998 or 9, something like that.
I think 98 maybe.
Here, look it up while I'm talking. Yeah, so I think it came out, it was pre-2000, so it predates The Matrix, it predates, I wasn't even in high school yet when it started. It's quite 97, March 10th, 1997
is when it premiered.
So that's quite a while ago. That's over 23 years ago. So a lot has changed in like trends in TV and movies and the way things are filmed and just costumes and fashion and music and slang and lingo and all that. So it's interesting for me seeing it for the first time, it being so old, having to like jump back in time and viewing it through the lens of what were things like in the late 90s. And apparently they were weird. Yeah, so anywho.
And that's my time period. That's when I grew up. So I'm all like, yes, nostalgia.
I mean, that's when I grew up too, but...
Yeah, just a few years younger.
I was a little bit younger.
Yeah. So
anywho, we've already watched the first episode, so if you haven't yet, now is your time. Take a break. We'll pause, and then you can come back and watch with us later. Yeah. So, any statements or thoughts to kick us off before we get into the episode proper?
I'm just really excited that he's doing this with me.
Yeah, it's been in the works for a little while, trying to get... So she works... So her schedule used to be a lot crazier, and mine used to be super crazy, but things that we've kind of gotten on the same page now, so we've finally been able to kick this off and start watching and everything, so we're really excited to actually get into it all. Okay, first episode. The intro, that like weird like 4-second intro thing is...
With the narration?
Yeah, the like, or what does it say? I don't remember.
She is the slayer.
Yeah, it's like once every generation a slayer is born or something like that. I thought it was a cool way to like kind of like give you a quick primer if you don't know, like, because I haven't had cable in probably 6-7 years now. So the concept of a TV show coming on and me not knowing what it is quickly becoming an almost foreign concept. So for somebody who's just got what channel was it on?
I think it was on the WB.
The WB? Okay.
And then did that turn into the CW?
Yeah. Oh, UPN, I think, turned into the CW. Maybe the WB turned into UPN, turned into the CW.
Well, no, because it jumped, in its last couple of seasons, it jumped from one network to a different, it jumped from, like, whatever the WB is to UPN.
Okay, well,
I think.
Either way, regardless, we're getting, that's our first tangent. Oh, it's so exciting.
We go on a lot of tangents.
It happens a lot. So
and then we lose our
with
train of
us.
thought and our points, so it's fun.
And with the magic of editing, we'll be able to fix that. So whoever, had the WB on or whatever, for that to be the first introduction to the show, I thought is kind of cool. It's interesting because it's super, super short, but it just kind of like gives you a brief little like, hey, here's all you need to know, and go. And then you go into what's the very first scene is we see Homeboy walking around at night. And
Homeboy.
Is it
Oh,
Darla?
yeah. Yes.
That's her name? Yeah. So I guess we don't know her name yet, but we meet Darla.
Yeah, the WB, and then it switched to UPN.
Okay, cool.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good. So we meet Darla for the first time, and she's like chatting up this dude and like they're like walking around at night or whatever, right?
Well, it's not really like she's chatting him up. It's more like he's leading her into,
That's right.
like he's the typical bad boy leading a sweet, innocent girl into trouble.
Oh, little does he know.
And I love it. It sets up for basically the theme of the show, I think, because it kind of turns that stereotype on its head. If you watched, you know that she, in fact, is the monster and the bad guy, not how we initially perceived the situation.
Yeah, she's certainly not helpless, that's for sure.
Yeah, so it's really cool. I really like the fact that this show is about taking perceived roles of women as being helpless and easily led astray and all that stuff, and turning it on its head. And they're the badasses, they're the heroes, they're the monsters.
Changing the traditional power dynamic.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah. And I think they do that a lot in the first or not necessarily a lot, but I think they kind of the only out of the core main characters that you're introduced to in the first episode, there's 3 females and 2 dudes. Like, there's Buffy, Willow, and Cordelia. Yeah, all I can think of was Charisma. And Xander and Giles. I guess Angel shows up for a weird couple.
And Jesse's in there.
Jesse. Is he really a main character?
Well, no. But he was given a credit on the show.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, okay. Okay, we'll get to that. That's right. Because I didn't remember who he was, but he was super familiar to me.
And let's decide not to do... I'm not going to try and give spoilers away while we're watching this, because you don't know anything.
Yeah.
And I know we've watched a couple of episodes, so you know what happens, but some of our viewers might not.
Oh, yeah, no.
So as far as like all that fun stuff goes.
Well, yeah, and the idea is that we're never going to get too far ahead that will ruin anything, or that I'll be able to ruin anything.
Yeah.
Because we know what's happening or whatever. Because that would kind of ruin it for me too. Because anyways. So we get that intro to Darla and everything, and it just like shakes it up and everything, and then we go into the intro and we get the deliciously 90s like rock, like high school rock going on, and all the different like scenery and iconography of like stakes and crosses and all the just different imagery and stuff like that, and I think it's a pretty effective intro. It's very much of its time, but I don't think it takes you out of it at all. I think it just kind of serves to like prep you for, hey, this is like a musical visual, like intro or like primer, I guess. I don't know words. For what you're about to get into because it has a very particular aesthetic to it. I mean, a lot of the first episode is spent at the Bronze, and that's the Bronze, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that carries a lot of like the themes of the show and like cementing it in its time and setting and making it much more centered on the kids' age. Like the students are more the main characters than any of the adults in the show or anything like that. Giles just happens to be along for the ride because he's the guy who knows things.
He's the watcher.
Yeah, there you go. I knew there was a title.
Yeah.
So, and then we get into...
Wait, I want to talk about the intro song.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
He talks a lot.
I do. I'm hyperverbal.
I was just going to say that every time I start a rewatch and it's the first episode and that song comes on, I get so excited. And it just makes my heart so happy.
The song doesn't change between seasons, right?
Correct. There's a better recorded version of it.
Like a remaster or something.
Yeah, so it's not like, I think like at some point it kind of almost loses time or whatever, like it doesn't keep up with the tempo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's like you can't tell, like I
Unless
can't tell
like
really, but I've read, that they re-recorded it or whatever, and the band is Nerf Herder.
Nerf Herder.
In case y'all didn't know.
Star Wars reference.
Yes.
I love how it starts with the string scratch down the guitar.
Yeah.
Anywho.
So good.
So from there we get into we get introduced to Buffy, and I think the next character we meet is Xander, who after the like 20 or 30 seconds we get with just Buffy and Xander, already front runner for favorite character of mine. He's great. Love it. He's so dumb.
Yeah. Just going back to like Buffy's intro, she's introduced, we're seeing her dreaming, and like this doesn't really give anything away, but they're like the scenes in the dream are later scenes from later episodes or whatever, so it kind of foreshadowing, and then this might be giving something away, I'm sorry, but it's not a huge deal. I don't know if it's mentioned in the first episode, but
I can scroll.
but they talk about how it's probably not in the first episode, but they talk about at some point how her dreams are
prophetic.
Yes, and so that kind of helps show. And the first time that I watched the show, it took me a long time to like figure that out, because the first couple of times of rewatching and everything, I thought she was just dreaming about like her past and what happened before she came to Sunnydale. And then I started to like watch it and pay attention to the dream sequences and see that I'm like, oh, I know that happens. I know that happens. Okay. So just a little tidbit there.
So next up we get to meet Cordelia, who has her introduction's a real roller coaster. She seems really nice to Buffy because she like, I guess, sees her as like one of her group or whatever. And then kind of starts seeming, her Valley Girl starts showing, and then they start talking to Willow, and then she gets kind of mean because they're different cliques and high school sucks.
Kind of mean?
Well, she's really mean.
Yeah.
Cordelia is mean, and she sucks.
She's a mean girl. She's
a fun character, and I'm sure she'll have a lot of stuff that comes up and, interesting dynamics, but high school sucks, and she's mean. And Willow is, to be fair, an extremely easy target. My first reaction to her was she's a proto-Michelle from American Pie. Like, she's very much that kind of character.
Yeah.
That's the connection I made because I've seen those movies before I ever saw this show. So, tracking where that character came from. Yeah, she's an easy target. She's super nerdy and very like, okay, I just yeah. So, whatever. But I was a nerd in high school too, so I empathize with her. Giles, second front runner for favorite character.
I love Giles.
Right off the bat.
I think everyone loves Giles.
And just like drops that giant tome in front of her. He's like, I know what you're looking for. It's this, this, and this. And like freaks her the hell out because he's a little overeager, which is great. Love it. So great. Thoughts about the character introductions?
When they introduced Xander, I thought he's cute. He's dorky. That's, 2 checks off my list or whatever. So I was all about Xander when I was younger. I like Xander. Cordelia is a mean girl. Willow, like your heart just like wants to love her and protect her.
You just want to protect her from the big bad mean world.
Yeah, you do. You do. And then Giles, everyone loves Giles. He's a slightly older, well, he is older, slightly sexy British man.
How old is he supposed to be?
I don't know.
Because I could easily see him being in his 30s or 40s.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to place him.
I always thought of him as his 40s, but I don't know. I don't know how old he's supposed to be.
Is that going to be me in a while?
Maybe.
Like the older dude who works at school who's like really nerdy.
That's already you.
I'm not a librarian though.
Yeah.
Anyway. So we get to the locker scare with the
dead body.
The victim. We link back to that first scene. We see Darla's victim and start getting into the first victim, and it's got bites in his neck or bite marks in his neck and all that, and he just falls out of the locker stone cold. And my first thought was, can nobody smell? Because a dead body sitting overnight in the middle of, like, I'm guessing Southern California can't be super cool, so that's gonna make some stink.
Maybe not that fast though.
Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not boned up on how fast bodies decompose.
I mean,
either way, weird.
Yeah.
But definitely fits the whole vibe of the show. Like, there's clearly going to be some things that are a little, like, I hesitate to use the word kitschy, but kitschy.
Kitschy works.
Yeah. So, let's see here. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah. Buffy's really bad at hiding who she is and what she does. Her little meeting with the principal and everything, as he's going over her permanent record. Little aside. Permanent records are not a thing. How is that like a thing that exists in media? That's not a thing. Huh? Why do we all believe that?
I don't know.
I believe that was a thing when I was a kid.
I thought it was a thing too.
I didn't know.
Because it was always
better.
on like all the shows I watched. Saved by the Bell, Buffy,
The Principal Building was the dude in Saved by the Bell.
Yes. See, we digress.
It happens.
Anyway, I liked their conversation. I think it gave Buffy, I don't know if hope is the right word, but you can definitely see her face change whenever he's talking to her about
her last school.
Her last school and what happened, and when he says, and then he's like, basically this is a fresh start or whatever. You almost see like there's kind of like a little sense of relief on her, like show up on her face and everything. But I also like the fact that he was still kind of like,
he wants to be the cool new guy.
he wants to be nice to her, but he's also going to keep it in the back of his mind that she burned down a gym that was full of I can't say that word. Asbestos.
Oh, that, yeah.
That was her excuse.
Do you have mesothelioma?
But yeah. And what else do you got over there?
I got so many notes. There's
know.
no time to go through all of these. I think I used the word spoopy 4 or 5 times.
Spoopy.
It's super spoopy. Oh yeah, okay. So going back to body falls out, we're introduced to the first victim, and then they just leave the body lying around.
I mean, it's Sunnydale.
Yeah.
They're clueless.
The phrase from the intro spoken by Giles, the once every generation, a slayer is born. Giles kind of serves as our introduction to all of the more like mythos, lore heavy side of things, because that's clearly his role, which, giant tome and everything. So, okay, we get to see the other side of things. We get to see the vampire lair, and it's super emo and fucking ridiculous in the best way. It's so good. But good, like bad good, yeah, I love it. I think my comment I had here is, it's 1997, what's with all the damned candles? Buy some lamps.
They're underground. They don't have electricity down there. Come on.
Yeah. Also, okay, I have another note here. Also, dude is ugly.
Luke?
Yeah. I like how they have the two different looks for vampires. Like, they can go from normal human look to their vampire mode. I think that's kind of neat. Because that gives them a lot more, like, ability to slip into normal everyday life and all that.
Yeah, it makes it scarier because you don't know who it could be.
Yeah.
Just like in real life. You don't know who could be a killer.
Let's see here.
I watch a lot of true crime.
The amount of times I've come home and heard things like, and then the killer chopped up her body and stored it in the freezer for a week and a half before he was caught. Just with absolutely zero context, is worrisome. If I thought she had an ounce of violence in her, I would be worried. Like, a lot worried.
I just find it interesting.
But she's a very calm, laid-back, chill person who I keep an eye on. I'm watching you. Anywho. So, let's see here. Oh, yeah. We get to meet Buffy's mom, who, poor Buffy's mom, she just seems like she's so lost. And I think, is she a single parent?
Yes.
We don't ever see her dad. I don't know if we ever get
They're
any of that.
divorced.
Okay, yeah. So I'm sure we get more of that backstory, but she just seems so lost and trying to do her best, but she doesn't understand and, just trying to make the best of things and go along with the flow, but she's just so woefully unprepared for her poor daughter.
I don't think she's lost. She doesn't know that Buffy's a vampire slayer, first of all.
Well, okay.
So, and plus, I think there's always...
If she does, she plays it off real easily.
Yeah, there's, there's that saying that, you kind of forget what it's like to be young once you grow up. And so that's why there's always this disconnect between parents and their teenagers and stuff, because, or maybe it's not that the parents don't forget, they just know better now because they've had time to look back on it. But
I think it's a little of both.
Yeah, it's probably both, because when they were kids, their parents probably told them the same thing, and they were like, oh, whatever, I'm an adult, basically.
I mean, I know when I was younger, I never got into a ton of trouble, but, like, I was an idiot. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we got into dumb crap that, like, nowadays I would never be interested in doing.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a lot of it is, not only does she know better, but she's matured as a person,
Yeah.
so she just can't directly relate. Like, you can tell she definitely wants to, but there's a disconnect.
There's a disconnect,
there.
and
Yeah.
I feel like that's just a normal thing for teenagers and their parents, especially mothers and daughters. You hear about it more. I don't feel like I had any issues with my mom growing up, where we
My mom and I get along great.
communicate or whatever, but yeah, that does happen, and I don't think she's lost. I think she's just a parent of a teenager.
Well, when I said
And
lost,
moved to a new town and
Yeah.
trying to make the best of it, and knows that her daughter got kicked out of her last high school and has had some trouble.
well, that's what
and
I
not-
meant
yeah.
by lost. Like,
Okay.
her daughter got kicked out of her last school for burning down a gym. Like, I don't think any parent is really prepared for that, unless they have
true.
like a problem child from birth, which that's intense if it's from birth. But
What's that movie with Macaulay Culkin? The Good Son.
oh yeah,
I haven't seen it in a while, but I just thought about that. Sorry.
Yeah, I remember that movie. Yeah, that's a good one. Anywho, moving along. We've talked about it plenty enough. Let's see here. Now we get to Angel's first appearance, and
Yes.
he's all like, slinking out of the darkness and the shadows in the alley outside the
Yeah.
bronze, and he's all like mysterious and dark,
Yeah.
handsome, mysterious guy.
I will say, for me, I always forget how, like, almost kind of flirty he was in the beginning. Because he becomes
Yeah.
so, like, you're gonna find it, he becomes, like, so broody. And he's
Big surprise.
yeah, he's depicted as, like, this broody guy. But he's doesn't really act that way in the beginning. So I don't know if that was, like, a change.
That was probably a conscious decision to make him seem more, not necessarily approachable, but like, I guess make him seem a little bit more immediately likable the first time you see him, so he doesn't seem, I don't know, offish isn't the right word, but you know what I mean? Like, they write him that way because they want you to like him.
Yeah.
And then they start putting up the like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm so broody and whatever.
And I will say that I always forget that his acting's not that great in his first couple of episodes.
How dare you speak ill of Bones that way?
I love him, don't get me wrong.
His name is Bones, not David Boreanaz.
It gets better. I think this was his first role, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was discovered walking his dog by, like, an agent or something. And she was like, you need to be on TV.
What a life. My God.
I mean, he is very handsome.
He's a good-looking dude, I gotta admit. He's a
So,
good-looking dude.
Don't quote me on that. I could be completely wrong. I'll do more research for the later episodes.
I just saw in my notes here, I just saw the phrase "big bad vampire daddy."
Oh, like Big Bad Voodoo Daddy?
Yeah. The dude in the cave who gets, like, brought up out of the weird blood
master.
puddle, who's wearing, like, an all-leather, not jumpsuit, but, like, almost a muumuu. Like...
Is it? Or is it just like a long jacket, like a duster?
Like a duster? I don't know. I thought it was more like what
I mean, we can
Neo
go back
wears
and
in the
look.
Matrix.
Let me see if there's pictures.
I guarantee you there are. But, yeah, so they do a good job of clearly showing all of the, like, Slayer strength and all that kind of stuff, and that she's clearly not just your average person who's aware of these things. Like, she's got abilities, and she's strong, and she's gone through some stuff, and she's yeah, that's... I don't know what... No, okay, it's short. I see what you're saying. It's just like a leather jacket, but I don't know. He's weird and creepy, and why? Of course it has to be all leather, but God, it's all leather. Like, it's such a weird, emo, like, gothy, like... It reeks of, like, moody goth kid in high school who's just, everything sucks and I'm just so depressed. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's great.
Fun fact, the actor who plays the master is Mark Metcalf, who played Niedermeyer on...
What was that? Animal House? No.
Yes?
Is that right? God, that name is so familiar. I haven't seen that movie in forever, though.
Yes, in Animal House.
Yeah, okay.
I'll find him.
Doug Niedermeyer. Huh, okay.
Yeah.
I can see him. He almost looks like James in that bottom picture.
James, your friend James?
No, James Willems.
Oh!
We watch a lot of fun.
Shout out to James Willems.
Yeah, what's up? Hi. He'll never see this.
He might.
He might. Maybe. Hey, yeah. Don't have that negative mindset. Maybe we'll be, like, super famous one day. We'll be super awesome famous YouTubers.
He might be like, oh, I gotta go back and watch all the backlog.
Yeah. So, okay, we get into, from there, sorry, getting back on track, because, like we've said, we do this. We get into, Xander and Giles and Buffy and Willow are at the Bronze, and they're aware of a vampire in town.
Yes.
And
Keep going.
is that where Jesse comes into the equation?
Well, Jesse was there. Like, we met Jesse before, whenever everybody was being introduced to Buffy.
But I mean, like, what he's really there for.
Well, Buffy tells Willow to seize the day, because tomorrow might be dead.
That's how it starts. Yep.
And so Willow starts talking to this vampire dude, but she doesn't know he's a Can I keep talking?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Keep going.
she doesn't know he's a vampire dude. And Buffy sees her leave with him. She's like, that's the vampire. I gotta go. So she follows him, and then we find out that Jesse is talking to Darla. And so, welcome to the Hellmouth, bitches.
I couldn't find where to put this, but I wanted it to be on camera at least once.
Yes.
All right.
We'll put it up. We'll put it up for the next one. I forgot about it.
Yeah, same here. We were just so excited.
So yeah, so Giles is trying to tell Buffy, like, you need to, like, pay attention and hone, and, you know, if there's a vampire here, could you find it? And she's like, that dude right there. Basically based on his clothing, because it was very dated, and he was leaving with Willow. And then we see Jesse ends up talking to Darla, and...
Which, in that moment when he's, like, telling her to, like, use her, or, you know, whatever, to figure it out, I thought that was... I thought she was going to be wrong.
Oh.
Because the whole, like, oh, those clothes are so dated, but she was going to be wrong, and that was a misdirect, and it was going to be somebody else.
Always trust Buffy.
Well, I mean, okay, clearly. But
always.
I thought that was going to be, like, a thing that they're setting up, like, she's had a lot of success and figured out what she's doing, but I don't know if she's ever had a watcher in the past. I guess probably not, because they haven't met. I don't know. But I figured there was going to be, like, something that they were setting up with that, but no. She got it in one. Like, she figured it out, she knew what was going on, and she was able to go and follow her friend.
Cookie.
And
She's a smart cookie.
Yeah. And I like the way they played it off, because it clearly kind of threw me for a loop, and I thought that was cool.
Before we go on about, like, what happens after Buffy goes after Willow and the dude, I do want to say that Giles is a little creepy in this first episode.
It's her first guest appearance.
This is Zelda.
Hi, kitty.
She's our youngest.
Okay, you gotta go.
But Giles is a little creepy because he's like, how did you said he's very eager? Is that the words you used?
Yeah, he came across as very overeager.
So he's very eager to get Buffy going and to be a good watcher and everything. And there are many times when he gets very close to her. Like, there's a scene at the school where he, like, grabs her and pulls her aside, and they're having, like, a very whispered conversation, like, very close.
Big no-no for adults and students in schools.
And watching, I don't know if watching then, like, watching the first time around, or, you know, even the first couple of rewatches, I don't know if I ever picked up on that. But the more I watch it, the more I'm like, man, like, if I had seen a teacher do that to a student, I would have been like, what is happening? And I think even, because I've started watching the commentaries too when I got the DVDs and would rewatch them. And I think they even mentioned, like, this first episode, Giles gets a little intense. And they, you know, I think they recognized that and kind of reeled him back. Same thing in the Bronze. Like, why is this dude in the Bronze?
Yeah.
He's older. And then gets very close to her talking, and it's just like...
It's
a little creepy. Yeah, older man, younger girl. Yeah, and they're up
second level, like themselves. The two of them clearly having private conversation.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely rings as inappropriate if you're looking at it through that lens.
Yeah.
And they clearly aren't trying to push that aspect of it.
No, not at all.
But that is definitely something I thought about was this dude is a grown adult hanging out with students outside of school. Like, that's not cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how this should work. Yeah, so I guess they kind of... I was going to say, it was over 20 years ago, so that I don't think that was as much in the forefront of everybody's mind.
Yeah, there's that. And then, like, I don't know when the DVDs came out versus when I bought them, if it was like they came out and I bought them, I don't know. And then, like I said, I think in the commentary they talk about how he gets a little too close and they, you know, kind of reeled him back for future episodes or whatever. So it is something that they noticed while filming and corrected it.
Oh, wow. The first DVD didn't come out until 2002.
Okay.
January 15th, 2002. Yeah. So that's 5 years later.
So, I don't know. That being said, I love Giles. Like...
He's pretty great.
He's awesome. And so what were we talking about? Oh, Buffy going after the...
Yeah.
So Xander decides he needs to go too because Willow is his friend. And I don't know if they know if Jesse's missing at this point. I don't think
they do yet.
I think he's just like,
because
Will's
we
my
the
friend.
viewer do, because we get to see both perspectives, but they're more focused because they're up in the rafters and he's trying to get her to like focus and all that, and she finds homeboy with out of date clothes, and notices that he's leaving with Willow, who she told to go and seize the day and all of that, and they follow them, but I don't think they are aware of Jesse yet.
No, and then if you watched, that Xander. She dropped her bag and spilled all her stuff, and, he helped her pick it up, and she forgot her steak or whatever. So we know Xander's like, what? And then I think she was talking to somebody about, like, vampires, and Xander's like, what?
Oh, she talks to everybody about vampires and being a slayer and all of that. She is so bad at hiding. Oh, it was in the
library. She was talking to Giles, and they were talking about being a slayer, and then Xander comes out from behind the books.
Yeah, like does his weirdo, like...
And he was like, what? So anyway, so Xander's like, I need to go. Willow's my friend. And we're going to talk about Xander a lot as the episodes go on.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot to unpack there, and we'll get there. I'm not saying I'm for him or against him.
Xander?
I like Xander. I'll throw that out there. But those of you who've watched know what I'm talking about.
Bold statement. First episode in, best character.
Anyway, so he's like, oh, I need to come with you. I know you think you're a slayer, blah blah blah. So Xander follows her.
Oh, yeah, tries to be the, like, macho dude to impress her or whatever.
Yeah.
Because he clearly has no clue what he's doing, but the way I kind of interpreted his character after the first episode was means well, probably nice guy, but probably doesn't know who to trust or who to follow or who to model himself after or, like, who he should look up to, I guess, like what kind of man he wants to be, and has a lot of different influences and probably doesn't listen to the right ones that he should, because I mean nobody ever does. Like we never do when we're that young. We're so easily misled, and we also have different value structures, and it's interesting seeing like the stereotypical high school dude from a completely different perspective, because, like, I mean, I've been out of high school for a long time. So I assume I was... I probably reflected a lot of how Xander was when I was, when I was in high school, because, there's all kinds of social pressures and what we should be doing and what's cool and, like, all that kind of stuff. But you can tell that there's definitely a vein of he's a nicer person and he doesn't want to be a douchebag, but he also is very interested in the hot girls around him and all of that, and very actively tries to pursue them and fails spectacularly in very entertaining fashion, and I'm all for it. But yeah, anywho.
Well, just to kind of add to that, a couple things.
That was the chair, not me.
No, I know.
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking what I was going to say. So with Xander.
Really?
Hold on.
You're killing me.
Oh, okay. I remember now. So, I like that because for so many shows and movies and everything, we're introduced as a stereotypical high school kid, as a jock, a football player, popular, not dorky, handsome, whatever.
The stereotypes.
And then Xander comes in, and he is handsome, but he's dorky, he's awkward, he doesn't play sports. And this is a main character in the show, and I really I like that about him, and that's probably what drew me into him, and because he was so different. And then
He's the anti-angel.
Yeah, and then there was another thing too. I don't remember what it was.
You need to take some ginkgo biloba or something. Get your
should.
memory straight.
Maybe you should not talk so much.
That's not going to happen.
I know. Anyway, we'll move on. If I think of it, I'll bring it up. I'll interrupt.
Anywho, moving on. So, okay. They go chasing after Willow.
Mm-hmm.
And...
Oh, I remember. Fun fact. I'll have to find the source on this, but I'm pretty sure that Joss Whedon fashioned Xander after himself.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's
I could see that.
There's something to keep in mind as we watch and stuff too. So. Yeah.
A little, what is it? No, I mean, it's not a book, so it's not author inserting themselves or whatever, but creator.
Yeah.
We'll
talk about Joss too as we go on. So
that's a pretty common thing, but he said, I mean, he said direct, like he is directly kind of.
I'm pretty
based on
sure.
him. Here's our second guest appearance. This is my old man Dorian.
Dorian, old man D. That's what I like to call him.
Hi, buddy. Hey, say hi. Okay, now you gotta go too. Anywho.
You won't meet the other two because they're shy.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe if we get lucky. Anywho. Yeah, so my God, we're so close to the end of the episode.
Tangent.
So they go and chase after Willow, and I think that's when we see Jesse also heading out there with another there's a second vampire. It's Darla, right?
Yes, Darla and Luke.
Yeah, that's right. So
Darla is the one that got Jesse to go.
Come. And it's Luke who's with Willow.
No, some random.
That's right. He's the cannon fodder vampire. So he's the first one to go, right? When they get
vampire?
into
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So remind me, they go chasing after Willow. They end up in the graveyard or something like that.
Yes, and
then they get into a mausoleum.
The guy somehow convinces Willow to go into some mausoleum, and she's like, "I'm gonna leave," and she goes to leave, and then like Jesse shows up with Darla, and he was like, "Oh, I think you gave me a hickey."
Like does the whole like fall.
And then Buffy shows up, I think.
Yeah.
Buffy and Xander show up, and she tells Xander to get them out of there, and she like fights everyone, and she killed the one dude, and then
cannon fodder vampire.
Yeah, and then Luke showed up,
and then they fight.
Yes.
Yeah, because she fights Darla and like scares her off.
Yeah. Well, no, Willow throws
holy water. No, what does she have? Clearly, we've documented every last bit of that and committed it to memory.
Anyway.
Well,
I don't remember.
Is not the time for that.
I don't remember. I think Darla like runs after them, and then Buffy's like there to face Luke or whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
And.
And he does the whole like, cutie little girl or whatever, and they fight for a little bit, and he gets the upper hand, and the rest of them have run off. And it's so she falls down into the like what would be the coffin in this mausoleum, and it sets it up where like she's on her back and like he jumps in to attack her and then nope, freeze frame, and then just says to be continued and cuts to black.
He hated the ending.
Oh my God, it's so jarring and I hated it.
It's like his face is like off center.
Yeah, it's like like with his weird ass ugly vampire face, but it's I see what they were doing with it. Like they wanted you to assume that it's gonna keep going and get caught up in the action, that nope, it's over, but it's so inelegant, and I don't know, I think it's weird, so jarring.
Because obviously the show is called Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Obviously she is going to live through this fight because she's the main character. So why they decided to end it on Luca coming at her like he's gonna kill her. I don't know. It's weird to me. I don't like it either.
Then there's that too. Yeah, it just, I don't know.
I didn't think it was jarring, and I didn't dislike it because of, like, the technical things.
Well, like, by jarring, I mean, like, it doesn't seem to gel with the rest of the episode. Like you're saying, like, she's very independent and can handle herself and doesn't need, you know, whatever. She don't
need no man.
She's a strong, independent woman who don't need no man. But, like, seriously, though, like, she's very much shown and demonstrated to be strong and independent and able to hold herself or hold her own. And then it ends on this, like, oh, like, he's gonna get her and all that. Like, I don't know, it's just tonally odd.
It is weird.
But it's also, like, very fast paced, and it doesn't give you much time, like, breathing time to see to be continued. It's freeze frame, to be continued, cut to black. And like, oh god, what just happened? But I think they pick up immediately with it in the second episode.
Yes, I think
which we haven't seen. We haven't seen.
I've seen them all.
Yeah. Anyway. But yeah. So, okay. Overall, I think it does a really, really good job of introducing all of the main characters in a natural enough way, except for Giles, because he's not a natural person. He's just, oh, here's this thing that I know you're here for, clearly, because you're here, and I'm here, and this is what we're supposed to do. It was weird. Xander is a complete clown, and I love him. Cordelia sucks, but she has a very valid place in the whole high school, you know, whatever. Willow is a...
At this point, the world needs to protect Willow at all costs.
Yes.
That's how that. I mean, there's that meme that always
She's
goes around, like,
sweet, precious baby.
Protect like, you know, sweet grandma, like, drinking or doing some silly thing. Like, protect her at all costs. Like, that's Willow right now.
Yeah. And then we get a little snippet of Angel in there, who's all like, but also, hey. Yeah, I have thoughts about that. We'll get into his character later.
Yeah.
As we go along. But yeah, I thought it was a cool, like, it shows you her, like, Slayer strength and all that, and gives you enough, like, bits of the lore. I think we hear them refer to Sunnydale as the Hellmouth. Giles tells her about that. Does he mention it in this one? I think he does. I think he says it, but we don't get into it. Maybe not.
I think maybe the second episode.
Maybe. I may be misremembering.
Sorry for spoilers, but that's not a big spoiler. It's fine. You're fine.
It's the title of the friggin' episode.
Oh,
if
that's
true. Considered spoilers,
that's
then
true.
Screw me. Yeah. And then we get to see some vampires kind of going, you know, whatever. We see the Master come up. Like, we're introduced to quite a bit, but it never feels rushed.
Yeah.
We get that weird scene in Bronze with just the band for, like, a good minute and a half unbroken. It's like a weird music video, which I feel is going to be a recurring thing.
Love it. Yes. Because I think I remember hearing that, like, they were going to try and use the show and the Bronze to, like, help, like, promote
up-and-coming bands.
Up-and-coming bands or something like that.
Which is a cool idea.
Again...
Very 90s.
Don't quote me on this, because this is just things that I am remembering that I think that I heard. It doesn't mean I actually heard it. Like I said, I'll do better research later.
I feel like that's at least believable enough.
I think it's... I'm pretty sure... everything that I'm saying, I'm pretty sure. I just don't have the quotes or facts to back it up right now.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We'll
I'll start trying to do that.
We can put an addendum or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked it. It was interesting. I definitely, like, my immediate reaction was maybe because of how jarring it was, but wanted to see the rest of that scene, wanted to keep going, wanted to watch more. The characters are nice and charismatic. They're interesting. There's different dynamics at play. I've always been into weird fantasy stuff and all that kind of, you know, so overall, yeah, totally works. I'm into it. Yes. Also, fun fact, my best friend Paul apparently I found out this is one of his favorite shows too. I don't know if I've ever heard him mention it. I probably have and just blanked it out, but I also know he's been into all kinds of other vampire stuff, like Underworld and Necronomicon and all that, all that kind of stuff. So
we should have him on.
Oh yeah, we
for
can
like,
have,
for like an
guests.
episode or
Absolutely.
something.
Oh
Yeah.
hey, it came back finally.
Hello. I also, because I'm pretty sure we're close to
Come
ending.
on, buddy.
We'll get better at this, but also
We're still new. Please be nice.
if you have watched the show before, like me, a ton of times, and you feel like we missed something or we missed something important, leave a comment. If you've never watched the show, leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts on the episode.
Yeah, tell us what you want to hear or see more of. Tell us what you're not interested in.
Do you want to meet our other two cats? Because we can make it happen.
Do I need to go on less tangents? That'll be a tall order, but I can really try.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But yeah. Overall, super awesome. I'm really excited to get into the rest of it. We're really excited to keep doing this, and hopefully we hear from y'all. Yeah, I think that's about it. Any closing statements or anything?
Yes. Seize the day, because tomorrow you might be dead.
All right. There we go. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks for watching.